Well, I was originally going to start this stream about 30 minutes before it's actually starting now. Um, but I had a stomach ache, and the stomach ache, it's funny. I tried to use the bathroom before I started, and then right as I started up again, or actually started for the first time, my stomach started like, what's a way of putting it, getting really agitated, and I could kind of like feel something coming. So I just jumped up and handled my business, and now I'm able to sit here and hopefully not have that happen again. I don't think so because it I feel like I've been cleansed. So we'll see if there's any more aggravations with my I guess systems. It's always nice to see Akatsuki Merchant. He's blowing out his streamer because he knows tomorrow is the end of the Naruto 90 top 99 poll, and he's hoping that his hero Sasuke will cruise to victory. We never really got to talk about that poll that much, but I think it's so interesting that for a series as old as Naruto, like one that's been around for over 20 years, they never until this past month had a poll that was just worldwide. It was always in Japan. And I tried explaining that sometimes the customs in Japan reflect what people like over there. So um, right now they have these midterm reports which showed like where certain characters were at. I would be very surprised if Sasuke even makes it to the top 10. Like I saw where he's worldwide, he's like number 11 or whatever, but that's lower than he's ever been in any of those Japanese polls. And that just tells you the character's not really as well liked. And that's putting it, politely or nice as compared to, Japan. And the other part I thought was funny is that on Twitter they're accusing anyone who votes for a character that they don't like of having bots or some other kind of manipulation tools to get them to vict. So, for example, people are actively discouraging others from voting for Naruto, Kakashi, Sasuke as well, and then to an extent Itachi because they feel like they've had enough attention because whoever wins the poll is going to get their own little short manga or whatever. And people were saying like it would be kind of cool if some other character could get a time to shine. One that maybe didn't get focused on enough or that much during the original run. And what's funny is that a lot of people for this reason are voting for Sakura, which is a sentiment I've been hearing for years that she didn't get enough to do, didn't do anything. Da, 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 da. And on Twitter, they're like, Sakura's one of the most hated characters. There's no way she's in the top three. Like they were just losing their minds. And I said, isn't it sad that when a poll is conducted and people, they're not all like me, so they're gonna vote for someone I don't like or I'm not interested in or I'm not gonna vote for under any circumstance. But isn't it sad that like when someone they don't like is doing well, their mind immediately jumps to this is rigged or there's some kind of I don't know. I just think that's so sad that people are that childlike. I've seen people organizing hate campaigns against anyone who votes for Sakura. I read one post on Twitter that had me laughing where the person was like, yes, we all vote for Sakura 30,000 times a day. We don't sleep, we don't shower, we don't God, I'm just because I keep having that visual image of like someone becoming what's the thing from Sonic roboticized, and they're like go accessing incognito tab, putting website Naruto top 99 in tab, scrolling to characters, click Sakura, vote, close tab, open incognito tab. Just they just become robotic. They have this like preordained thing they do all day of just voting for her over and over and over. It's like of all the characters, you really think that like whatever. It's just goofy to me. It's really goofy. Just the way people are acting, the antagonism they're showing. Also, you can only vote one time. No, I know that. I'm saying that they're accusing people who are voting for someone they don't like of having done something to make that character have more votes than others. They're accusing people of using their incognito tab. They're accusing people of what was the other one of bots? Personally, if any character should win, I would like something with Madara, but that's just me. People are saying that they're but like, I mean, what does a troll vote even means? Like, so if you vote for someone I don't like, you're trolling? Really? For all they know, because there are people that like Sakura, they could want her to win because they feel as if out of Team Seven, she got the least to do in the manga, and there should be some kind of story about her. Like I said, in Boruto, it's even worse because now she's getting upstaged by Shikamaru, so she gets even less focus in that. They've also been accusing people of having multiple accounts, which doesn't make sense because you can only make a certain amount of accounts under the IP. Yeah, we can sit here and crunch the numbers and talk about how ridiculous their allegations are. I'm just glad this thing is finally over today because I'm really tired of seeing a bunch of conspiracy theorists over a poll for a manga. Like I have to deal enough with that in the election world. I don't need that recycled in something like I really was excited when the poll was first announced because again of like what the number one character would get, but also just seeing what like who people would pick all over the world. And now I'm just kind of like tired of it because the people around it are too toxic, where they start accusing others of doing something to manipulate results, and you couldn't have voted this way. You just get like it runs its course. They rip the life out of everything. So you won't be seeing me shed a tear now that it's over. But I would say because what was the top 10? It was I'd have to go look on the site, but generally anyone that wins that's in the top 10 except Naruto, I'll be fine with. Because like I said, I'm always down for more content from that series. I think it's interesting the idea that they like you can vote for a number one character and they get a story about them from winning that. So I hope it's Madara, but then again, how often do I actually get what I hope for? So maybe I'm jinxing it by saying it. It is what it is. Yeah, what was I gonna say? I derailed the title a bit because I was supposed to start speaking about this topic, but I just found the conversation about this poll to be very interesting. Um, but Akatsuki Merchant remembers when Cavill came back as Superman, right? And it was in that Black Adam post credit scene, and it was a big deal because it had been 5 years since he had played the character. Um, he Cavill after this cameo was released said, "Hey, I'm going to come back and do more appearances," and he got a lot of people excited for a second solo movie from him after 10 years of waiting. So around a couple of weeks later, Gunn, everybody's favorite Guardians director, takes over leadership with somebody else, and they announce that they're going to do a complete reboot, and they're going to focus on some younger version of Superman. So that means Cavill's out, and you had some people that were like celebrating. You had others that were really irritated. And I remember I saw this one guy's video where he was like, "These people seem like they're more fans of uh, Zack Snyder than they are of the actual DC." And I was like, if you sit there and tease somebody with the idea that they're going to get something after they've waited for it for years, and then you just snatch it away from them, I think they have a right to be upset and to, just kind of be disenfranchised with the entire thing. Um, because this wasn't just a bunch of crazy fans who held out hope for 5 years. These people saw him come back again and very recently, and we're like, okay, cool, he's back. And then you're like, nope, got you. Thanks for watching our crappy movie that nobody saw. But that kind of informs the title a little bit, where it's like these people lobbied and campaigned for Cavill to come back, and Cavill was always supportive of wanting to return. Um, he finally does come back for this little quick scene that's supposed to tease at some bigger stuff down the line, and then you get rid of him. So the payoff to all those years of people saying they wanted him to come back was a cameo and him getting gotten rid of 2 weeks later. So I said the payoff was really ridiculous, and I do sympathize with people that like that stuff more than me, because the idea that you would bring back an actor and then just for this little quick scene to be like, all right, well, now we're restarting with somebody else. Like, then why did you bring them back? And we haven't really had this talk about this that much, but um one of the reasons that Gunn was really ridiculous for even announcing this when he did is that now the Flash film, which has already been through all these different production development issues with all the delays and Ezra Miller acting insane, all these different things, right? Now you've really destroyed a lot of the hype for that movie, because who's going to go into a multiverse movie with all these different versions of these characters and know that this universe ends with this film? There's not going to there's no continuations. There's not going to be like um we had a discussion about Zod on one stream, Akatsuki Merchant. I was talking about, like, I was really excited for him to come back in Flash, and, like, possibly they retcon his demise in Man of Steel so he can come back in more stuff. It's like, but why go through the trouble of resurrecting this villain if you're not going to do anything with him outside of this movie? I don't know, maybe I'm crazy for saying this, but I just think there's a lot of stuff that they've messed up by both making this decision and making it public when they did. I think if they were smart, they would have waited until after Flash came out to start, ripping the hinges off things. But yeah, it looks like they've sunk their own movie, and I'll probably still go see it because I like Michael Shannon, but it's it's just a weird choice to me. And like I said, it takes a lot of the payoffs that people thought they were going to get and kind of reduces it to nothing. Is it the same with No, that's Marvel. What No, Marvel's gonna have the MCU for another probably 7, 8, 9, or 10 years. They have projects lined up all the way into going into 2030. So that's completely opposite of this. We're talking about DC bringing back an actor who was the most recent live action version of one of their titular and most iconic superheroes, making it seem like he's going to get another movie to play him, and then pulling the rug from under him once they get some new leadership. So this has nothing to do with Marvel. Marvel people have their problems with it, but they're much more consistent than DC is. And they had conversations about supposedly Suicide Squad might not get rebooted, and they'll be the sole thing that continues. Well, in the case of No Way Home, that was different because we weren't really told that that would be something that just continues. Like it could have just been a one and done. There's been no indications it'll be something that leads to other past actors returning. But in the case of Cavill, the cameo that he had in Black Adam is supposed to set up more appearances by him. And then they were like, "Nah, we're not doing this." So they did the cameo and nothing else. So I said DC is run by some really bizarre people. The types of choices they make, I'm still trying to figure out why I'm supposed to be excited for Flash. If it all ends with this movie and all the things that are supposed to be set up are never going to get resolved, why should I be excited? It's like, hey, this movie's going to be a soft reboot of the DCU, and then hey, let's announce a full reboot right after. My favorite part was when they were saying that if Miller performs to a certain degree, then they might be kept on. I'm like, so you'll keep the actor who got in so many different controversies and troubles that you could make a whole documentary about it, but you won't keep the actor who people wanted to come back and campaign for 5 years to return because you want to do a reboot where there's a younger version of his character. That's why I said just they're all over the place. Wait, Disney bought Marvel, right? Man, that's old news. Hey, Akatsuki Merchant, do you want to tell them that if whether or not Disney bought Marvel? Because I don't feel like digging up news from 2009. What happened to Akatsuki Merchant? Is he writing his? I hope he's not writing that movie again. Because if he is, we might as well just say forget it. He's not going to come back on the stream anymore. Because when Akatsuki Merchant starts writing, especially a script for that film he's been doing, you won't be hearing from him. No, I was just laughing because I'm like, that's really old. Like that's old news. So I was like, I'm surprised he doesn't know that they have the. I mean, why do you think that all their stuff is on Disney Plus? Yeah, it's that was my main reason for thinking it was funny. No, I still haven't read the last chapter. I read the one before that, but not the newest one. I'm not purposely avoiding it like I did with the granola arc. I'll try to check it out today. I have this thing I have to do after the stream's over. I gotta go drive over to this place. Like I said, as long as they do something that's different from the same two characters for a whole arc, I'm good. So I look forward to reading it whenever I get the chance to sit down with it for a second. I'd say one of my favorite videos ever was that guy's live Boruto chapter one reaction where he's like turning the book and it's got was it Kawaki or whatever the character's name is fighting Boruto. He's like, oh, what's happening? What is this? and then all of a sudden there's a flashback to when I guess it's like basically he realizes as he's reading it that they're just retelling the events of the movie in book form. He was so oh my god. I still don't think that makes any sense to take a something like a TV show or a book and or excuse me, to take a show or a movie and like draw it as a novel or I just think that's every time they do that it's just goofy to me. Like if I want to know what happens in the movie, just watch the damn movie. I remember when that manga started. I think it was retelling that movie for like 6 or 7 months. Because I remember I just checked out. I was like, this is dumb. I'm not gonna sit here and read something that's a longer extended version of a film I could have watched last year. Yeah, that's one manga that I have no intention of ever picking up. Like it's really weird to me to start your book with an adaptation of a movie that came out the year before. And when your manga comes out once a month, that means for like half a year or even longer, people were just expected to read something that they saw last year. Oh man. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't have payoffs that just kind of all goes in every which way. Because I can think of some TV shows that end on cliffhangers. Um, and with those, it's kind of infuriating because a lot of times they'll have a writer that wanted it to go on longer than it did, and the person will sometimes tell you, if it got another season, it would have had this and this and this and this. But I'm never mad at the show itself because it couldn't help being stopped. Um, And I don't know, it's like that's one of the reasons why I like comics because given that they're much cheaper to produce, usually they don't get canceled, or if they are, it's at the end of some kind of arc or story where they were given enough time to like plan it out how they were gonna end it or wrap it up. I guess we could also discuss some real life payoffs. So yeah, I went to that job interview. What was that? The Friday before last Friday? And I remember I was talking about how goofy it was that they had me pay for 2-hour parking and only use like 10 minutes of it. Uh, and it was, I guess, what I always have had such a disconnect with is that it feels to me as if a lot of places, when you talk to them, when you're in the process of just trying to get a position with them, they make it, they're always run by these people who can do two things. They can make it sound like they're desperate. You know, we need people. We're hiring. Um, Seriously, for all the now hiring signs I've seen, I've lost count. And they make it sound like you're the most interesting person in the world. But when you leave from wherever that office is or wherever that building is, and then you're sitting there waiting to hear from back from them, and you never do, it's all the more telling about these individuals. And I guess what I'm always most upset by, because there are some interviews, for example, they're on Zoom and they're over the phone. I just hate the idea that I drove out there for a whole, what was it, 30, 40 minutes, right? To like I think it was downtown or whatever. And again, what was accomplished? What actually happened in any progressive matter? It's the same thing with we were talking about the Friday massacre, um, where I go to uh this store to print out something, and there's like big, like the big saga that got me to just leave from over there altogether. But I was thinking, like, it's really anticlimactic that in attempting to get a position, um, the only thing that only major thing that happened is something that's completely unrelated to the position, and you had this thing that, like, this powder keg that just went off, and the only result you received was them saying they're having a hiring freeze and they're not hiring anybody. So that's why I said it's just like there's so much stuff where you'll go to some length or some effort to get it done, to get it made, to try and have something, and then when there's no payoff, you're expected to keep wanting to do it on this promise that eventually it'll change or eventually it'll get better. I mean, I can't tell you how before, like, I'll never not have the image in my head of going on some website and just filling out applications for, like, sometimes a whole 30 minutes, an hour, and you fill out some. I remember one day I filled out 30 of them. I showed because I have one person who is sympathetic toward me. I showed them my applications. They said that they like their response was wow, because they just couldn't believe I would do all of those, you know, just back and back, back and back, back and forth, back and forth. And that's part of the reason why when I have these individuals, and it's a small little pissant group, it's not a whole bunch of people, but when I have these individuals in real life who will call me lazy, or you know, oh, you're not doing anything, this type of crap, right? It's always infuriating to me to know how many times we've sought out employment and just heard nothing back. But at every time where we have heard something back, been willing to work, um, but then be told that, like, you don't want to do something. Because like I said, the only reason I stopped working at that last place, they closed down and they chose to not hire me on permanently. Um, and they're giving me some kind of crappy deal where it's like work for 6 days a month or some garbage. Nothing stable. Just like a lot of times I'll write a script for a video. Like there was this one, I guess you could call it a documentary, like it's like retrospective that I wanted to do. It was probably gonna be maybe like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, right? Not that long. Um, and it sounds like a video that's that short will be really easy to do. And I certainly felt that way when I was first writing it, but then I remembered, oh wait, I have to get screenshots, right, of these different news articles. I have to get there's like some recordings I want to play as well. So when you start to kind of just think about how much stuff you'll need just to make this video that's not really that long, then you're like, okay, well, maybe I miscalculated. Because like I said, I'd love to live in the fantasy world of like being able to do a documentary a week or so, but sometimes I don't have enough material. the research process can be long depending on what the topic is. There's a variety of reasons. And I guess what I'm always so infuriated by is that I have scripts to this day of like stuff I wrote a year ago, 2 years ago, that I never made either because something else was more interesting to me, or maybe I forgot it because I have a whole bunch of like stuff in Google Docs, for example. And I always have to remind myself, and to an extent some other people, when I write stuff, that I don't write things for my health. Like if it's a script for a video, I want to make the video. If it's a script for, I mean, it could be anything. This is not being done because like as a hobby or something. Just for the heck of it. Like almost never would I write something and then, not have some purpose for it when it comes to like other people seeing it or checking it out. And you can't do that if it's just kept, in this on this one website in the dark corners of your computer. It's a doggy dog world. People will gladly screw over means they can get ahead. Sure, but I really don't understand where it makes any sense to say you're hiring, you're hiring, you're hiring, and then when people apply, you bring them in, you interview them, and then you make it sound like you're so interested in having them work for you just to not say anything back, or to not actually be interested. you know, um, do I want to talk about them? I guess I could talk about them. I don't know for sure. But yeah, I have a lot of just different stuff I want to make on here. And really, if I don't end up doing it, it's because of either there's something else I want to do a little bit more, or it just becomes too exhaustive. Like if you make a video and you have some 40, 50, 60 page script, and then you fire up whatever your editor is, and you start remembering, I have to get this clip, that clip, this clip, that clip, the whole thing just becomes exhaustive. And when you compound that with the very little support that some content creators get, it's all the more obnoxious to even like want to do it. Like your motivation for doing it goes out the window because what's a good way of putting it? You're not really being given a reason to go to all these lengths for something like that. When you know that like people aren't going to watch, they're not, and if they do watch it, they're not going to promote it. So I all I'm saying is there's a lot of times where I want to make something just like this isn't worth it. Like, oh, let's make a documentary on this person. It's like, yeah, it's gonna get like 100 views. I can get that from a stream where I'm just sitting there talking. Man, trying to think if it's for some reason it's been raining for the last few days. And it doesn't rain during the day. It rains at night. So you'll drive around, whatever, no issues at all. And then you get up the next day and your whole front thing is messed up with this water. Yeah, I don't know. Just to me, a lot of stuff doesn't really register as because I've tried to explain this before. People do things because they get something out of it. Like you play a video game, if you're having fun, that's why you play it. Or some people play them to make money, but whatever, whatever. You watch a movie because you expect to be entertained. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. People work jobs because they want to get paid. That's usually the only reason they do it, period. So to me, it just seems really crazy that when you complain about not receiving a payoff, um, someone would then be, unsympathetic toward you when you consider that they're doing this stuff for the same reasons that you are. They're working a job because they want money, right? They want to take care of themselves, and that's their incentive, just as it is for anyone else. But for some reason, when you express that your reason for wanting this is that reason, you don't really get people to say, yeah, there should be something out there available for this person to do to take care of themselves. They go, oh, well, maybe your resume is messed up, or maybe the way you looked at the interview wasn't like. I've never understood. Well, I guess it makes sense because we've talked before about how, in general, people don't have sympathy for men. That's why most homeless people are male. Um, but it's really crazy that even if you have like a desire that's based around something normal, something that thousands and millions of people do, you have these like strange characters that can't just say, "Yeah, man, I get it. That's awful." Like having to apply to all these places and hear nothing back. That can be really irritating for anybody. Part of the game. I'm telling you, that's becoming like the new favorite word of people to use, and they want you to just jump through a bunch of hoops for nothing. Because, like I said, as things currently stand, I've been showing some more restraints. I mean, I had this. I think I did a stream when this happened. I had a job from last year. There was there's some kind of like canvassing company. I'm like, okay, whatever. You want me to knock on doors? Fine. I don't really want to, but hey, anything to get a job, right? And there, after I agreed to this, I get a message from the I think it's either the manager or some other leadership person. They go, "Oh, we want you to memorize this thing before you come to our office on Monday." And it's like, because some places have, thank you for coming to this place. My name is how may I help you? I had that at the last retail position I had. But the thing they wanted me to memorize was like 3 paragraphs long. It was like a whole speech, and I'm like, "Guys, you want me to memorize this in 5 days so you can possibly get rid of me in 2 weeks?" So I said, "The juice isn't worth the squeeze. I'm not doing this." I had another actually the first position I ever worked, I remember, I was only there for a few days because this is before the minimum wage in California was 15, it was 10 back then. They wanted me to so I they gave me 3 days for like 3 hours, like half part-time, whatever, and they wanted me to buy a pair of shoes that was slip resistant because it's you're in the store, you could fall, whatever, makes sense. But here's where the catch was. They wanted me to get it out of their brochure. They wanted me to buy it like through them. So, for example, if like let's say I went on some site and got it for $20, right? Oh, that wouldn't be what they wanted. They want you to get it specifically out of their catalog. Um, and I said, I'm not doing this. So, and my reason for not doing it was that okay, three hours for 3 days. So that's like 30 a day times three, that's 90. So you spend basically they want you to pretty much spend everything you've made to get these shoes that you could probably get the same effect cheaper if you didn't have to. It was just a really dumb thing they wanted me to do. So like I said, I have certain stuff where I'm just like, this is stupid. I'm done with this. Um, but again, like I fail to see where that would be something you wouldn't get upset with as well. You get hired by somewhere and then they announce they want you to memorize damn near a whole essay just to start working there. That's crazy. And they know what they're doing is crazy because they don't tell you about this until they hire you, because they know that telling applicants, um, we want you to memorize all this crap would be unappealing. And where is a Kotsky merchant? That man just disappears over and over. But even with a lot of these positions, when I just think about them in retrospective, like the retailer I was at, it was like I put up with rude customers. And I even gave multiple examples of them being nasty. You had people that were stealing stuff. You had people, like I learned how to do the cashier. They had a bunch of keys they had to like open stuff. Like there was a whole bunch of little things that they showed me how to do here and there. And in spite of learning how to do this stuff, I was told that the thing they cared about the most was customer service, and that these people that are like the heads of the company had decided not that I should be gotten rid of because people were going online complaining about me, even though they complain about every other person that works there. But I remember like the just the feeling of frustration I had when that, and it's still something that I think about because I mean, it's part of the reason why I never want to work another retailer again. There is this like over reliance on what the customer thinks, because when I did my you treat it like it's a job stream, and I was just talking about how you had these customers that would steal things, and how some of them would do it a little bit more elaborate, where they would give like a speech, or like act as if they're returning something so that you don't catch on to stuff like that, where you clearly have people that come into that store that are antagonistic, that want to do something, either when it comes to taking something or just being nasty, right? And it just seems to me that the payoff to putting up with that stuff shouldn't, and learning how to do the other things that are asked of you, should not be, oh yeah, let's get rid of this person, goodbye. Like I said, I went on that site and they still get negative reviews. They still have people saying this person was rude, this person doesn't know where something is. So they write all kind of nasty stuff about everybody. um And that's why I said, when you try to take a systemic problem with customers, which is that you have some who are rude, some who are purposely trying to have a problem with either those people that work at the store, or just they're not doing stuff in good faith. When you have people like that you're trying to accommodate at such a ridiculous notion as to get rid of employees that at least on a technical standpoint are competent at the position, it just shows you that you're always going to be in this like revolving door thing of hiring people and firing them because random individuals go on a website and complain about whoever the cashier of that given day was. But yeah, I just look at something like that. And wow, that was almost a year ago, because I remember I was there. I got hired at the start of February and I left at the end of the month. So I was like, that was a whole month of just being there. But it was crazy to me that for all the stuff that I put up with, um, the payoff was being dismissed after 4 weeks. And I tried explaining this on my other stream, that it's supposed to be when you're on probation as a new employee, that you get at least 3 months before they say, "Hey, we're keeping you. Hey, we're getting rid of you." These places are on this almost like ridiculous breakneck pace that they don't even retain somebody for half of that, which would be 6 weeks. They'll get rid of you after three, after two. I said before that the place I worked before, the retailer, the manager threatened to get rid of me on my first day of doing things in the kitchen, which was technically my fifth day overall, but it was my first one actually, like, making stuff, even though that crazy bastard knew I didn't know how to make this stuff before hiring me. Um, So, it's really just insane to me that you have so many of these places where they'll sit here and they'll call themselves showing you how to do something and showing you how, and it just seems like they like they're kind what's the way of putting it? Um to have places that go through the laborious task of saying, "Hey, this is how you do this, this is how you do this, this is how you do this," and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later go, "Okay, goodbye forever, we're done with you." Again, it just seems anticlimactic to me. It just seems like they don't really have a purpose. And that's why I said that, like, I really have, and I hate, being like trying to psychologically analyze myself or whatever, but I really believe that that stuff has left me with almost like a PTSD, in the sense that, like, I'll start working some job and I'll just think, okay, this is week number 2, this is week number 3, this is week number 4. This is probably my last one. When I was at my last position, and I was like mostly just talking to, some of the like people that work in the building. I was making all kind of jokes about, I hope you don't give me a 1 star, and this is my last day or whatever. It's like at a certain point, the idea of being steadily employed somewhere became a joke to me, because these places are jokes. They hire someone for a little bit, they have that person work like, their slave for weeks on end, and get that person learn all this different stuff, just to throw them out after a couple of weeks or even a month. It's because they have hiring and firing quotas they have to meet. Sure, but you understand where, if that keeps happening to you, if the payoff to you being accepting of these different jobs, and honestly attempting to learn how they operate, and effectively do what the position asks you to do, is to have these pricks that will get rid of you after a couple of weeks say, "Hey, person that's been showing up every day and doing all the stuff we asked them to do, thanks for playing, goodbye." You don't see where that would affect a person who has that happen to them more than once, where they just start to believe, yeah, this is not getting any better. This is only going to just go on forever, where you keep applying to places. Maybe one of them eventually hires you, and then they get rid of you. Because, like I said, when I got hired by that the one from 2 years ago, I was excited. I was jumping for joy. I was like, yes, the nightmare is over. But it was just another cruel joke. Like, I would rather, and I say this with complete sincerity, the way things are, I would rather be unemployed permanently than hired for a month, because what's going to happen after the month is over? You're going to be sitting right back where you were before. Like I said, jobs are supposed to be something that allows you to take care of yourself and is stable. And when they're not doing either of those, then there's no point in having them. But I'm asking a Kotsky merchant, do you understand where, if someone keeps getting hit by the hire to fire, pyramid scheme, they would gradually become disenfranchised, and almost even be like tempting fate to even believe that, like, oh yeah, this next place to hire me, they're going to keep me on for more than a month. I hope you understand where someone could come to that conclusion. Because when I was with this last place, I was thinking, okay, it's been a month since I started here. I started there was like November, I think like 14th or 15th, somewhere around the middle point of that month. But I was like, all right, well, they're probably going to get rid of me after a month. And I was with them until they closed down. So that's like, what, 5 weeks? But you know what I'm saying? That, like, even if we didn't get the same result, like as far as like being fired or let go of, or whatever the term they want to use is, you still had this like several week period where you were working consistently, right? That just went out the window. Um, you know, and not because you quit or you did something that upset them. They just don't want to permanently hire anybody. And it's really pissing me off. Because, like I said, I don't understand the purpose of learning how to do all this stuff. You know, sweep this, clean this, use that, use this. If you're just going to be gotten rid of after a couple of weeks anyway. Hey, Akatsuki merchant, here's I'm going to show you what rooms to go in to clean and what types of materials to use and how to ring people up at the cash register and how to use this camera. And after about 4 or 5 weeks, I want you to turn in your pink slip because I'm going to get rid of you. Okay? Thanks. Like, why talk to this person and give them all these directions on how to do things if they're just a temporary hire? And you know from the moment you hire them that you're going to get rid of them in a few weeks. Like I said, people try to say be positive and all these other frivolous crap, but I'm not going to pretend that if something bad keeps happening that it doesn't have an effect on me because their standards of work are so arbitrary. I mean, like I said, dude, if you want to just go down the list about like not having payoffs, we could easily discuss that woman stuff. I mean, that would be a very simple topic to foray into. Just because I always say that like when I'm describing that there are these people and they get mad and they get angry, right? And they're like, "How could you say this about them?" But a lot of it is just basic stuff that is not being accommodated, and you feeling like there's something wrong with the fact that you can't find someone who can just accommodate you in this very basic way. So let me read what Akatsuki Merchant wrote before I start. They can just randomly decide you aren't doing good enough and cast you to the ring. To yeah, remember the second to last place I was at. Worked there for 1 week, came every day on time, did all the stuff I was asked to do, and I get a call from my recruiter on Friday who says that the manager has ended my assignment because, and I quote, he doesn't have the speed we're looking for. And to this day, it's been roughly over 2 months since I left there. They have not been able to get anyone to take that position and either show up on time as consistently as I did, to where they're not even showing up on time after like the first day. It's all just it's sad. It's really sad that people act this way. That they feel like they can play with somebody else's life because they happen to be the manager of whatever little stupid rut they call themselves in charge of. Again, if you give some people a little bit of power, they turn to complete pricks. It's really, really sad. What speed were they looking for? Why do people do this? Because when you want to get rid of someone and you can't really think of a good reason, like a tangible thing that they're doing wrong, you make up whatever crap spews in your head. So the speed they're looking for is some kind of vague statement, like platitude that means nothing. It's not like, oh, when this guy goes and works, he's spilling the materials on the floor. He's showing up late. He's making a bunch of accidents. No, it's nothing like that. It's how can I get rid of this person and make it sound like they're lacking in some way, and I can get rid of them. I can get rid of them without having to define what they're actually doing wrong, because in reality they are doing nothing wrong, and I'm just a stupid bastard that wants to make somebody miserable or just get rid of them because I feel like it. So I hope you understand that when people, like I said, as bad as that thing at that retailer was, that at least that was a clear, specific thing they were complaining about and crying about. Oh my God, people are going on the website and giving you bad reviews. But that thing with that other person or that broad, complete nonsense. Zeal, I'm gonna ban you from my chat. You don't have the speed I'm looking for. Have written a comment in like 10 minutes. But even if I said that, I would still be defining what amount of speed he's supposed to have. Let me see what you write. I'm gonna be incredibly vague and then get mad when I don't exactly get what I want because people should be able to read my mind. It was incredibly vague. And that's why I said I was so happy when I heard that they haven't been able to get anyone else for that position because like I said, I'm a person who more than anything else wants something steady, wants steady employment, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. And I truly believe that if that lady hadn't have acted like a complete idiot, I probably would still be working there. Like I'm not joking when I tell you that if you give me a job where there's like some work to do and I know what I'm doing and there's always a specific time I go in, I'll do it probably for the rest of my life. I'm not even saying that to be comedic. My standards for work are very minimal because all I'm asking for a job to do is just give me hours and some consistency. Now, ideally, I would like to not work in a warehouse forever, but if nothing else, because I certainly am not looking for jobs when I have one. I'm and like actively being given work by them. So I probably would have stayed there indefinitely. I'm really not even saying that to be humorous. Like I think that was a really stupid thing that she did. Um, just from the standpoint of like having a person who shows up and works every day and then replacing them with people that either don't show up or come late or just it was I fail to see where she benefited her company by doing that. But like I said, people are weird. They do things that don't make any sense. Um, they're just not very smart. I don't care how many companies they claim to run. I don't care how many leadership roles they say they have. They do things that if you and I sat back and just broke it down, you would know it makes no sense. You would know it was stupid. You would know it was ridiculous. And you don't have to be a genius to see this stuff. Now, Kotsky merch, I'm just going to warn you. If you don't write another comment in the next, actually, no, I'm not even going to say it. I'm probably going to ban you because you don't have the speed I'm looking for. That goes for Zeal too. If he doesn't write a comment soon, he might be on his way out too. We might just have to have a stream where nobody talks but me. You can't even write anything. You just sit there and stare for an hour. So just the most vague, ridiculous nonsense. Like it's especially grating when it comes to relationships. Well, that was supposed to be the next thing I was going to talk about. And allow me to adjust my seating a little bit. Kind of make sure I can sit and be a little more comfortable. Um, so what do we generally talk about here, right? When it comes to that stuff, we talk about double standards. We talk about red herring. We talk about time wasting. And payoffs in anything are supposed to be when something is reached to its natural conclusion point that's satisfying for the viewer, or in this case, the people that are experiencing this. For example, if you work a job, you expect to get paid. If you apply for work, you expect to eventually get a job. Otherwise, you wouldn't just keep applying. So when we're talking about women, And a lot of people use the word, and I'm getting sick of this word because it gets used towards me in the non-romantic context by the same two stupid relatives, entitlement. And basically, this word, along with the I word, are what they use for guys that they claim believe they're owed something by women. And I said very simply that I think there's something wrong with, because you look at some of the stuff that chicks post online, right? They talk about men in all kind of different ways that are negative or critical. And no one would ever tell them that they think men owe them something, and they're do I want to say the F word that is supposed to be like their version of the I word? But anyways, the point I'm making here is that they try to punish you for having a basic expectation of the opposite sex. Because when you go out, if you're a guy and you ask out 5 women, 10 women, and that 5 or 10 like say nothing back, and then you go and you ask out 50 of them, 100 of them, and those 50 or 100, um, because we've said before, it's a little bit more nuanced. Sometimes they don't straight up say no. They abruptly stop responding to you, ghost you, or you'll have like encounters where they'll just, yeah, like a lot of them will just disappear. They'll just stop being interested in responding to you. So what is really happening here is that you as a man are being being expected to do something that society tells you as a male you're supposed to do, minus the incentive that is supposed to come from doing it. In the backwards feminist era that we happen to currently inhabit, a lot of times, because we've talked about this before, you have this thing where people believe you can't say anything disparaging about the way a woman looks. You can't say anything disparaging about how many men she's been with. You can't say anything bad about just really anything they do. And some of them really do believe they're above criticism. They're gods among men. But because we live in a society that practices double standards, when people say something nasty about the way a man looks, when people try to say some man is a virgin, right? No one bats an eye. No one says, "Hey, you shouldn't try to make this person feel ashamed of, something like that." Um, and I guess what really gets me is that, we're very clear about this. When you ask out women, when you go on these different dating websites, when you go and see one walking down the street, when you go and, I don't know, see one in your classroom or at the store, whatever, and you go up to them and you ask them out, and you don't just do this one time. You do it pretty much in every instance where you see one that you think is really attractive, and you think if you can formulate some kind of way of responding to her, she'll reciprocate in some degree. But when you keep doing this and there's nothing gained, that is remotely close to what you want, you don't get this person to be interested in enough within you to go on a date, which, like I said, is a one-time affair that she could easily never do again if she doesn't want to. You don't get this person to want to become your girlfriend, which is not the same thing as dating someone one time, and I've already described that. In the place of these two goals, and possibly more, because I said before that I'm someone who personally wants to get married, have kids. That's like 4 or 5 different things I would have liked to gradually come out of being with one of them. But in the place of this, you get women who either talk to you for weeks or months but never indicate a romantic interest in you. Um, Ones who are so self-absorbed that they think every single man they speak to wants to be their boyfriend, and we've discussed those before. And when these two things keep happening over and over, you are in effect being given no incentive to keep asking out women, because they're denying you as a collective, as a whole, right? As a big old giant pie with all of its slices still intact. They are telling you we have nothing to offer you. Because, like I said, if this was really just about, because a lot of them are like, you just want intercourse, we can go to Vegas. We can go to Vegas and we can pay one to do that, and we don't have to speak to any of them for weeks or months or ask out any of them. We can go up to one of the ones over there, pay them a price, they do what you want, like that. So that's just a little stupid narrative they like to float. But when we're talking about substantive, tangible things that you want out of being with one of those bastards, get ready to have pretty much none of them actually do what you want them to do. And then get ready to see the entitlement, ironically enough, on their parts and on the part of the men who, treat them like gods among men when they tell you that you should still be asking them out and you should wear this and you should do this and you should do that. And you say, guys, you don't get it. If there's no payoff, I'm not doing it. So yes, if when asking a woman out and dating one of them and actually being all that stuff sounds good on paper, but the execution that you've received is they waste your time and they get used as ammo by other men to attack you over. And those two things are so unappealing that you have reasonably, because this isn't just something that happened one time, it happened over and over again, you have reasonably concluded they are not worthy of your time. They are not providing you with a payoff that is satisfying to the things you have had to do to even get to the point where you are at this, in any totality. Like, it can never be that a woman just isn't attracted to you. If a woman rejects you, they frame it as there's something being wrong with you. You're inadequate if you get rejected. Right. And I said before that it's really interesting they've taken this line because um we've talked before about how there are external factors, right? And that's why you shouldn't sit there and engage in the self-loathing that these people want you to do when they're like, you're inadequate and you're not good enough. And da, da, da. I said before, do I believe I'll ever have some woman actually like me for who I am? No, I don't. But do I believe that I am not good enough for a majority of women that exist today? On this, from like a standpoint of, do I actually think they are better than me somehow, and that I could never hope to date one? No, I think they are a group of shallow, self-absorbed, narcissistic, massive ego-having pricks that get coddled by a bunch of weird guys who get offended in their place for stuff that has nothing to do with them. That is what they have been for years now. But them saying no to me does not make me feel as if I'm inadequate. I mean, nobody is adequate for them, and we know they're not because look at all the guys that come on here and talk about how hard it is to get a date from one of these bastards. But yeah, they want you to have this like deep and remember, we talked about double standards. When something happens to a woman, what did we talk about before? Self-love, love yourself. That's okay. Try again. Positive reinforcement. When something happens to a man, it's your fault. You did this, you did that, you did this, you did that. I mean, I didn't just start calling myself the most blame man of all time just for fun. When you have people who have such an irrational desire, like antagonism toward you, to where they will take this what I mean, for all they know, these chicks could be living in a box and they'll tell you you need to have more money to appeal to women. You're like, for what? So yeah, they believe in this really bizarre notion that if you can't get a modern woman who we've already talked about is not all that anyway, um, to be attracted to you, then there's something wrong with you. Even though, like I said, women do plenty of things in mass that show there's something wrong with them. But yeah, when you take an entire gender and make them out to be gods among men, and pretty much every time you talk to one of them, you get the same result, to where you see no progression whatsoever with any of them. You're like, yeah, there's no payoff to this. I'm good. I tell you, things are so backwards now when it comes to them that you could literally live in a mansion and ask out a woman that lives in the box, and some guy online would be like, "Well, she's pretty, so she's too good for you." You could have 100,000 subs on YouTube, and you could ask out some woman that has like 10, and if some guy thinks she's pretty, he'll be like, "Oh, she's too good for you." That's why I said that. Like what I hate most about it is that men are set up to fail with chicks, and nobody wants to talk about this. Um, but people still try to pretend if you do these types of things, it'll improve your chances, and you'll see this substantial. And it's like I don't fall for it anymore. Like I said, it's really sad that gender relations are where they are. Dude, my favorite part was when we had the guys that were like, "You are too emotional to be, or you are not uh ready to be with the one." And I'm like, "Have you seen how many chicks you go on Twitter or Snapchat or any of these other stupid sites? They're posting videos where they're screaming at somebody or they're cursing at somebody." And I'm like, it's so interesting how like it always seems like, and again, this goes into more discussions that we've had. Women are allowed to be whatever they want and are expected to face no reprisal, no type of like condemnation by a man. But then men have to fit into this one particular little tiny box and all be the same, and it's all homogenized. I just don't understand how that's fair. Like, oh, this woman can be overweight, but you need to go to the gym. This woman can live in a box, but you need to be a millionaire. This woman can be someone that doesn't have a channel, but you need to have 100,000 or a million subs. This woman can make 5 figures, but you need to make 6 figures. This woman can drive a bicycle, but you need to drive a Lamborghini. Like I don't understand this logic. I really don't. If this woman is single, it's cool because she's an independent, but if you're single, it's because you're not good enough for a woman. And it's like at this point, people still are confused as to why I don't bother with those pricks anymore. Like they're really like wondering why I would say, yeah, I'm just not even gonna have anything to do with them at this point. People act confused, they don't get it. Even though I'll sit there and I'll describe it and I'll explain ad nauseum and in complete detail why I'm sick of them. They want to. I said that like a lot of times people do it on purpose or they act stupid. They're like, oh, I don't understand why he would feel this way. Let me read what the Kotsky merchant wrote. Like, my grievance isn't with rejection. My grievance is with the people who tried to tie personal self worth to courting women and weaponize self improvement rhetoric to attack you. Well, because self improvement rhetoric is not about actually improving yourself. It is because remember what I told you before about how the people that peddle that stuff don't have character arcs. They don't go, hey, he did what I told him to do. These chicks are still not interested. There's something wrong with these pricks. They're never going to say that. They're going to go, well, you exercised every day, like I said, but you probably don't have a mouthpiece. You probably said something stupid. You probably wore it because it never ends. And that's why I said that for me, I don't get why you would even attempt to do self-improvement stuff in the first place because again, if you don't want if you're doing it just to get a woman, then you're not actually doing it because you want to improve yourself. Like I want to improve my artistic skills. I'm not doing that because I think it's going to make some woman attracted to me. It's just again like that's an actual thing I want to do for me. Um but yeah, the self-improvement stuff is it's rhetoric that's used to attack somebody, and it's also a goalpost that never stops. And like I said, you don't see women being told to self-improve for men at all, ever, because they're all perfect the way they are, according to these people. Yeah, those are my 3 biggest things against self-improvement. The goal posting where, like, nothing you do is ever good enough or, if it's not successful, they keep blaming you anyway. The double standards where they don't tell women to self-improve. And there's another thing they do. What was the part that you said? Let me see. Yeah, and weaponizing it, those 3. They don't actually care about your improvements, just a high horse of self-righteousness they can use to attack you from so they can feel good about themselves. Well, we also talked about how since most of these guys hide their faces, we don't even know if they're doing the stuff they claim that you should do anyway. So that guy that was talking about go exercise was sitting over there with an avatar of some football player. You really think that if I had exercised and I had these big, enormous muscles, I would be hiding my face behind a picture of another man I stole off the internet? Do you really think you would do that if like a Kotzk merchant? Imagine if you had a 6 pack, 8 pack, whatever. Do you really think you would be hiding your face when you posted stuff online? Like, wouldn't you be proud when you go, "Yeah, man, I'm fit. I feel great." It's much easier to attack other people for their flaws than it is to focus on your own. Yeah. But like I said, my flaws, according to them, are all just stuff that relates to chicks because everything a man does apparently is supposed to be based around if a woman likes him or not. Like you can never just do something because you like it. And that's what I said when I was talking earlier. What is the purpose of being with a woman at this point? Like they don't want to have kids, they don't want to get married, they don't want to go on a date. So why should I talk to these bastards? Like I will someone write in the comment section explain what do they bring to me? If they refuse and deny every single objective and desire you have with regard to being with one of them, what is the purpose of asking them out? So I'm very serious when I ask that question. It's not a trick. It's not a joke. What purpose is there to me seeking them out if they're against doing the stuff I want to do? I'd love for someone to explain it. That'll be real nice. Oh damn! I think I might made my computer glitch out. Let me see. I have never seen that happen before. Where like the light of the camera just turns off by itself. That's crazy. That's nuts. It's like we're finding new errors and glitches on these computers every day. I tell you, I've never seen it before. Like the camera light just shuts off, just like abruptly and randomly by itself. That's why all the comments of those self improvement videos are not filled with people talking about their personal journey. Well, it just seems like women are used as a tool for people to like try and make you feel bad about yourself. I mean, um, I don't know if you remember in that "We Can't Go Back" video, I showed where the guy was like, the pill stuff is just for, and I remember I'm someone who doesn't even like that stuff myself because whatever. But the guy said some of the effect of these are just boys who have nothing to offer the world. And I was like, isn't it sad that he was like have nothing to offer the world and fail to attract quality women as a result? Like what well, first of all, what do you offer yourself to be speaking in such condemning terms of people you don't even know? But secondly, who are these quality women? If we're talking about physical appearance, that's a dime a dozen. There are attractive chicks all over the world. Um, like what is quality about them? What's so great? It's full of people standing on their high horses, talking about everyone but themselves has to improve because taking on look so very scary for some people. Oh yeah. Well, just it just seems at this point, everyone online that is peddling the woman, that's riding the thought train, wants you to improve in all these dynamic and different ways, but they don't really ever say anything about the other factors here. Like I said, I really wish that someone would take the women's mini mini options video and just like promote it. Because I swear I've never seen any any of these content creators, and just even just like online people talk about the disparity, like so many guys asking out one woman, like no one ever talks about that. 50 guys talking to one woman, and you're supposed to feel bad if she turns you down, when a lot of times they don't even know you exist because they're too busy talking to man 1 through 49. Like, that's why I said that I this is a topic that deserves a conversation that's nuanced, where people actually understand the point somebody else is making or a view that's not their own. And you're just not going to get that. They're going to shut you out. They're going to tell you that you hate women, even though you say you don't. They're going to say that you're an I word, even though you don't condone either their rhetoric or their violence. Because this is what it's turned into. It's just a bunch of name calling and misrepresentations of the points and views espoused by people you don't agree with. That's all this is at this point. And I told you it's such a shame because there really was a lot of potential to romantic relationships. Like there was a lot of good stuff that could come out of them, but they're for me they're just too tainted. Like I tried to explain them before that when you go out and you ask out a dozen chicks, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 5 dozen, 7 dozen, and sometimes they abruptly stop responding to you even though they say they like speaking to you. Sometimes they say they only like you as a friend. All the time they're talking to you for weeks or months before they reach these conclusions. Like, it really shouldn't be hard for people to see where that stuff gradually weighs on someone, where they just become extremely cynical about this process. Because even now I still have people trying to convince me about the magic woman. I'm like, I don't buy it. Again, I'm just going off the evidence. And I'm telling you that if she existed, the bastard would have materialized by now. But of course, we know the true thing they're going to say, which is that if you stay single, it's because you did something wrong. It's never the fault of the other side under any circumstance. Like I said, man, I'm glad I walked away from that crap when I did, because there's I'm someone who liked to believe in a few fairy tales, but that woman thing was one I just couldn't absorb anymore. There was just too much evidence to the contrary. Also, who are you to determine the values of others or lack thereof? What have you done for the world? Dude, that's what drives me crazy. Like, you know what? My message has always been, if you're a guy and you're sick of chicks, that's fine. I don't blame you. Do what you want. But you look at these people that, and I really want to make a video about this someday, but they take these women, or they take some that they think they can like make you feel bad over, and they run with it, and they act like they're these big accomplished all stars, and they're nothing. You click on this guy's channel, he's got like 2 subs. You go and you read what he's writing, and you're like, hey, what have you done that qualifies you to be speaking so disparagingly of like, chicks are really this. See, people try to pretend that being with a woman is like this great thing, but I'm not joking when I tell you there's an extremely toxic to that woman stuff, where people use women as a way to attack you, as a way to condemn you. Um, like I said, I've had people tell me to go to off myself over not being considered attractive to chicks. And it's like, what person would find that appealing and find a group of people that they're acting this foolish over appealing as well? Like it's really not hard to see where I would go, yeah, I don't want to bother with them after that. And I told you, they never flip the mirror back at themselves. So I ask again, what have any of these women done that makes it to where it makes sense to you to go and on this arduous quest of self-improvement? Told you I wouldn't even do all this stuff to attract an actress, and at least that's someone who's been in stuff, or a singer. God, man, I'm telling you, some of the stuff that these people write is just, it's so insane. Like, and remember, when you don't get your payoff, you're not going to hear, "Hey, man, I know you tried really hard and that woman wasn't attracted to you. And I understand your frustration." You're not going to hear that. You're going to hear, "Well, you probably did something wrong. What do you think you can do to better improve your chances of appealing to these women that are so?" I mean, it's always your fault. And that's why I said the payoff with chicks should be that after you talk to like five, 10 of them at most, you get a date one of them. Um, if she likes it, you go on another one. If she doesn't like it, you go and you ask on another five or 10. Then you get over the course of speaking to like 30 or 40 of them, like seven or eight that are willing to go. You know, some singular digit that's like at least once a year, you get again at least one of them to be attracted or to like even try, right? And then the ultimate, whatever your end goal is, getting married, you want to have a family, whatever, like that stuff that you can still that there's at least two or three or four out there in your general state or area that like that would want to do those things as well. So that's what the end goal of chicks, if you're a guy, should have been. Instead, what it is you talk to a woman, she wastes your time for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months. And after you get done with her, you have some person that wasn't even there, but acts like they know every single thing about you. Say, "Oh, you probably did something wrong. That's why it ended up this way." You start speaking to some new woman. You talk to her for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. Then some other person that wasn't there, but acts like they know every single thing about you. It's like, "Oh, well, you should have." And then the cycle just keeps repeating year after year until you say, "To hell with this." That like that this is again, this is what chicks are. They're not doing anything remotely worth doing all this stuff to appeal to. I'm sorry if that pisses people off. It's the truth. Get mad at me for being honest and telling you about this lousy cycle. There are men throughout history who have made significant strides for humanity and have never attracted quality women. So do their accomplishments mean nothing because they didn't attract a woman? Yeah, being single is really not that far out. I mean, like I don't want to start naming historical figures that have no children or were not dating anyone. Um, but like I said, this whole like thing of taking chicks and propping them up as the pinnacle of male accomplishment it's just utter nonsense. So we talk a lot about like bad encounters with trying to attract them, but if you really start getting into relationship stuff, you're going to see all kinds of other gimmicks and schemes and scams that they run with. It's really scary. Oh, here we go. Using women as the ultimate proof of self-worth is just ridiculous. I agree, but that's a tactic that people are running with. Um And like I said, even if they gave the payoffs that I would prefer them to give as opposed to all this time wasting crap, they still wouldn't be worth like trying to make somebody feel bad about not attract, because we talked about this before. There are women who are single and nobody tells them you're not good enough to ever date a man and you should go do this to yourself. But you don't see that. So I really it doesn't make any sense to me, man. I told you I really just got to a point where I accepted what they are and I tried to move on. And we talk about it here and there, but like as far as actually asking them out and trying to talk to them, I don't do that anymore because I we know we could, like I said, this isn't our first rodeo. We've seen this happen a dozen times over. Told you I've had at least two or three different chicks that I thought I was in love with and I wanted to be with, and then they're too stupid to actually show interest back, or if they do, it's for a limited time only. So it's at a certain point you just get tired of it. Like I said before, we get to live one time. As far as we know, we get to live one single time, and we're supposed to spend that time pursuing all these idiots that if they didn't have a triangle between their legs, you wouldn't even acknowledge their existence whatsoever. And when your time is wasted by them and you have to do this, or you're expected to do this again, people get mad at you for saying, hey, look, I'd rather do something that is more fulfilling for me than speaking to a bunch of women that just waste my time every year. I told you that when I was a younger person, um, younger guy, whatever, there was a lot of stuff I wanted out of dating that I thought was really basic, like, hey, let's go see a movie together. Hey, let's go and watch TV. Hey, let's just hang out. Because I said before that a lot of times I really like the dynamic of you meet some woman that you like, and then you have something in common, maybe you don't, but you just do stuff together. Like that's why I told you that a lot of times people are idiots when they're talking about you just want this or whatever, because it's not. It wouldn't make sense to talk to a woman for 7 or 8 months for that if you can just get it from Vegas over the weekend. But um, it's like I would really sit here and talk to them, and I would say, "Hey, what kind of stuff are you interested in?" And I would always, in almost every instance, have like a vision of how this was going to play out in my head. Like, okay, I'll probably say this, and then she might say that, and I would think about, like the fantasy of like, oh man, what if she actually says yes, and we get to hang out and do things together. But what I saw instead was that a lot of them really they're not ambitious. They don't have any goals or desires. I gave you the example of the woman I spoke to from, I'd say, September or October of 2021 to probably July of last year. And she told me she had no expectations of where our uh, dynamic was supposed to go. And I was disgusted by this because, I thought we were going to actually speak and do things together because, she doesn't live like that far away. But it was like, this is lame. This is stupid. Again, if we're gonna, what's the point of having dialogues with people, relationships, whatever, if they're not going to actually mean anything because the other person is not trying to develop it in any significant or substantial way, even if it's given time to breathe. Because it's not like I'm some guy who's saying, "Hey, next week I want to come visit you." No, you've talked to this person for almost a year, and they won't even let you hear their damn voice. But that's why I said these chicks are as empty as the inside of this thermos. Like there's nothing to them, man. They're just like it's sad because I don't enjoy getting on here and saying that when you talk to a woman, oh, you're probably just gonna have your time wasted, and she's gonna, do what the rest of them do again, which is waste your time. But I look at reality. I look at the statistics. I say, hey, if the last 10 of them did this next one's probably going to do it too. Except in my case, it's not just 10. It's a number that's so damn big I lost count. But it's all the unappealing stuff. It's sitting there and talking to one of them for weeks or months just for nothing. It's having them like abruptly stop responding out of nowhere. You get tired of that stuff. So yeah, I really did just kind of just zone out on the whole thing. Using women as the ultimate proof of self-worth is just ridiculous. Well, I told you we live in this extremely feminist society where it's like this. They want women to be able to do whatever they want, wear whatever they want, say whatever they want. If you're a guy, you got to fit in this extremely narrow, tight box. And if you ever deviate from the norm or from what they think is the norm, because like I said, guys getting turned down by chicks over and over again is not just a me thing or whatever. It's something that's been happening with a whole bunch of guys, which is why people watch that stuff and like it because they know there's something wrong with the modern woman. But yeah, when you live in a feminist society that tries to tell you that the woman is so much better and she's the greatest thing since bread, um, that that narrative of being with one of them being this ultimate goal is something that they're fine with sticking with because they feel like if you're a man you shouldn't have dreams, you shouldn't have desires that extend beyond who you date. um and like I said, if a woman is single, it's good, or she's independent, whatever. If a woman is with somebody, that's also good. Like so I told you that, like, they get so much acceptance, and in place, if you're male, you get crucified just for like not appealing to them, when at this point you would ask damn near who is. So yeah, man, blame the feminist society that tells women that just because of their gender, they can expect to have 30 or 40 guys trying to ask them out, and they're all better than you and I, and we should just quietly bow down and worship them. Just blame that, because that's what caused it. That and social media and all these guys gassing them up. Like I said, I try to just stay away because I know nothing good comes out of me talking to them. They're a rotten crowd. Think I'm kidding. I try as hard as I can to just not bother them. If they want to sit there and talk to somebody else, be my guest. If they want to, I mean, whatever. I leave them alone because I know that nothing good comes out of my interactions with them. I can't count the number of times I've spoken to one of them, got excited at the prospect that it would go somewhere, and then it was nothing, and I was like, oh well, here we go again. That's why I said people, when like I told you that without payoffs and tangible results that you get that are in line with what you want, you don't have a reason to do something. Like if I knew that every time I write a script, it's ultimately going to be for something I don't make, I would be very less inclined to ever write again. That's why I said that with other stuff that isn't hinged on some random broad being like, "Oh, I guess I like you today, maybe." I feel more rewarded because it is something that's more in my control. So I'm more incentivized to do those things. I'll tell you the problem with chicks is just it's multi-layered, but a lot of it just comes down to the nitpickiness. And like I said, when they can't satisfy your desires as a male, what there is no reason to do anything with them. Remember we had that conversation about compromise. So, well, I mean, at this point, it feels like it's only the guy that ever compromises. Like, I don't know any chicks where they're like, "Oh, I had to give up my dream to be with him." And there are some women that actually are like in love with some man that will do some crazy stuff for him. I mean, I still remember the one content creator that gave up living in a house to be with some guy in his car and then was stalking his ex-girlfriend for 10 years. But that's another story. So yeah, you do have a few chicks that exist in the far reaches of the space-time continuum who actually are attracted to some man to some great degree that they'll compromise with them. But I swear I lost count of how many chicks you ask them, do you want kids? No, 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 do you want kids? No. And it's like some of them even object to ever getting married. I'm like, so you what why would I have any long-term desire to do anything with you? I think that one guy came out and talk about most women want kids. According to what? Because I told you that another thing that these defenders like to do is just start claiming things with no proof. Like when like even if I don't have a poll of how many chicks waste my men's time, I have proof that they've wasted mine. Screenshots galore, you know. So with these people, they just want you to believe something. Like the woman who said, "Oh, the standards that women have are the standards that most people have." It's like you really want me to believe that when I see men dating chicks that are 300 pounds that don't own anything, like you really want me to believe that? Again, no proof. They just take my word for it. Just trust me. God, they act like those superhero movie scoopers. But I feel the same way when I write stuff. I'm like, I'll write a script and maybe I'll get 2 pages and I'll be like, hey, I want this to actually be finished. Maybe it doesn't happen tomorrow or next week or this month, but I want to go back to this, be like, hey, this sounded pretty good. Like I just hate the idea of spending your time trying to make something and then it never actually gets created. Like I hate that. That's probably one of my biggest fears from the standpoint of, you know, being a content creator, like the idea that you'll have some video you really want to do and there's like something that's stopping you. Um Again, it could be research, it could be editing with your computer. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that could factor in, but it drives me nuts because I don't want material or content I'm making to just, be like crap or to just never actually, come to fruition. I said this earlier, I don't write scripts for my health. Yeah, people don't like when you talk about payoffs. They don't like when you acknowledge that, yeah, there's stuff that I want to see happen. There's stuff that when you're expected to work for it, there should be a payoff to it. There should be something that comes out of it that is either rewarding or in some instance similar to what you had desired when you first started doing it. Like I said, Akatsuki Merchant, when he's writing his Killmonger spinoff movie, he actually wants to make that in some capacity. Maybe he's gonna send it to Marvel Studios and they can give it a heads up, But he actually wants to see that get made. He doesn't just want to sit there and type on his keyboard and stare at it and gawk at the script for the rest of his life. I mean, we have people who actually want to do something tend to want to do something that others can see. So it's sad. Yeah, I'm having another I don't even know what you would call it, stomach issue, I guess you could say. I really wanted to hold on till we got to our usual, mark, but um the way this thing is feeling, can I last another 14 minutes? I don't think so. Oh man, I know what I ate. I wish I had known it would give me this kind of reflex. Well, anyways, I just wanted to say that I've tried to do things I enjoy. Again, sometimes I don't get to make everything I want or do everything I want. I mean, there's a lot of days where I'm like, man, I didn't write any of this script. I didn't draw anything, So like I get that we don't always fully. There's an old saying about you fail more often than you win, but what what drives me crazy is that um if we want to dial it back to the woman stuff for a second, you have guys, and I tell you that like they never can pick a narrative. So they'll tell you, oh, you shouldn't be too upset she turned you down. That's part of life, rejection, right? But then they'll also make fun of you or insult you for being turned down. So it's kind of like, well, what are you trying to say? Or is it normal to be turned down? That's just a part of the process, or is it something that you should hate yourself for having happened, and you need to work on yourself and transform, and like you're an Autobot? I mean, I don't. That's why I said that like these people are just these guys are they say something out of one mouth and something out of the next. It's really insane. I told you, you're doing all this stuff for what? I can't wait to go on a date with this woman who uh most definitely is going to do all these things I want to do because people online told me she would. And then if she breaks up with me, I'll have more people online telling me that I did something wrong and I'm an idiot and I botched it and ruined it because it's always my fault. That's why I said I just think the whole act of asking out chicks is just at this point is pointless. I meant for that to be a pun. At this point is pointless. And really, I believe that in everything we do, we have a desire of like what we want to see come out of it. And when we don't get that desire via the thing we wanted to see come out of it not happening, we have a right to get upset and to be angry and to like I'll never understand this gatekeeping that comes around emotion. Like women can say whatever they want, talk about whatever they want, but if you speak ups in an upset manner, and I guess what drives me crazy is I think about the one broad who tried to say that me calling women the B word was why I couldn't get with anyone. He's like, you got all these rappers and singers that call each and even women themselves that call. I've seen women call other men the B word. I'm like, you're really gonna tell me this garbage? God, like that's why I said they all believe in this fatal flaw and this insta fix. Just stop doing this, magic results. Just wear this, magic results. And like I said, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of people taking this group and just because of their gender, acting like they're the most amazing thing that we've ever seen. Like it's just obnoxious, man. Again, in a society that doesn't care about you, you're expected to care so much about chicks as to chase after them and do all this stuff to appeal. And I just don't have the time for it because I know I've known firsthand and for a long time the lack of actual productive results that come out of that stuff. I had this one. I was writing this one story. and it was about because I like to write stuff just sometimes so that's like really short, but it was supposed to be where I was like having a dream, and there was some woman I because I said before, there's like a few that I've always thought of more than others just for the length of the ridiculous stuff. But there was one of them that appeared to me, and she said, you can ask out 1,000 of us thinking you'll meet someone who actually wants to be with you and enjoys your company and is helpful to you in some capacity. It's not just her flapping her gums, but you never will. Like just acknowledging that you're never that you can ask out a whole bunch of them forever and ever, and that thing that you want is never coming. Um, and I said, why so cynical? And it's like she pointed, and I saw this big giant board that had all the different screenshots and messages and things with the ones from my past. And I was like, yeah, that's a good enough reason to think this stuff is going to stay the same. If you can look at if you have basic pattern recognition skills, you can pick up on this stuff really easily. But like I said, I don't take a desire from trash talking chicks and all the rest of that. My biggest problems come from a belief that people are extremely harsh towards men, like just really nasty for really for no reason. I mean, you would think we all make mistakes or we all do something that maybe wasn't entirely tactful, but they're really nasty for whatever reason. Um, and I also don't like that because I've said before, feelings and things that bother you should be considered legitimate regardless of your race or gender or age, whatever. So if some guy wants to come on here and say, because we've had women come online and talk about men, if some guy was coming here and say, hey, look, I'm tired of these chicks. I keep doing this. They're not reciprocate. I think he should have a right to say that and not have people jumping down his throat and telling him he needs to transform. Um, but it's funny that like they try to paint me as the toxic one with the harmful rhetoric. And it's like, how is this harmful? We're saying if you are sick of chicks, we get it. We're not saying go out and do something to them. And it's like I don't understand how basic critiques are somehow like doing something to them. It just doesn't make it. But that's why I said that like they're not trying to have a civilized, nuanced, well thought out discussion about this topic. They want blind bootlicking. And if you don't do that for them like these other guys do, then you're the problem and you're the one who needs to, I guess get lost or we're gonna attack you or whatever. And it's sad that we can't have an actual dialogue about something that affects so many people. It's really pathetic. We can't just sit down like statesmen and human beings and discuss things. And I don't quite understand why. But that's one of the reasons why I don't really like talking to a lot of the ones that claim they believe something else because it's always like their go-to thing is they either try to convince you that this woman is coming or they're going to just blame you anyway if it doesn't. So I don't see a purpose to talking with someone like that whose default position is to be antagonistic to me. And like I said, I'm not going to get hornswoggled into believing any more of that of those lies. I can't tell you how many chicks I've seen sit there and tell you mean so much to me. We're friends. I love talking to you. And that's what disgusts me the most, that they don't they like we've really left the era where people can just say no. Like where you can just, if you don't like somebody, just say I'm not interested, no thank you, I appreciate it, but no thank you, whatever. We're at a point where it's always this dragged out thing that just that goes nowhere, that just wastes everyone's time. It's like, hello, sir. Thank you for showing interest in me. Instead of just saying I'm not interested in you, how about we talk for 3 months before that? So I said, so much time wasting. And again, a lot of this stuff would be salvageable if there was actually something to it. Like I was trying to have this conversation with my best friend. I said, when like if you spoke to some woman for like 2 months, and at the end of the 2 months, she's like, hey, you know what? I appreciate us talking for this long. You want to go on a date? And then after you do the date, she doesn't like it, you don't like it, whatever, you never do it again. At least something like that is still a little bit of what you wanted, even if it didn't go the way you planned. And I said before that the problem with a lot of guys is they don't have the, I guess, the confidence, the courage to just put their foot down. Like say, hey, look, I'm not going to talk to you again if you're refusing to let me hear your voice. I did that with one chick on Reddit, and I stopped speaking to her after that. I was done with her. Um, we were talking about this also, but it's like if you tell some woman, hey, look, I am interested in you. I don't want to just be your friend. So if you want to progress this, I can go. You can go talk to somebody else that can just be your friend. What I said before is that if one of them said, hey, you know what? Okay, I'll go on a date with you, but if I don't like it, we still continue speaking. That's still someone attempting to compromise and meet you halfway. Because like I said, a date is something that happens one time. And if you don't like it, you never do it again, which is why to sit here and act like it should take 10 years or talking to 300 or 500 chicks just to get one is insane. But people legitimize this ridiculous garbage. So I'm not too surprised. I just think the whole thing is so sad. There is a lot of potential in relationships, and it will remain squandered. But then again, I think there's a lot of potential in many things. Like I think I had potential when I worked at those various jobs. I think if I had been kept on longer, I probably would have become better at the position. Um, it's hard to do that when people are trying to get rid of you on your first week. I think that a lot of relationships, if both sides compromise, can be very fulfilling for both sides. But since everything is slanted toward women, you're not going to see them willing to do that. Uh, and really, that's just the saddest part of this. That there's a lot of potential in relationships, in jobs, in the things are, and it just feels like everyone is determined to do as minimum work as possible, and to just kind of keep things in this stagnant state where nothing really ever changes except to just get worse. Like I think it's so sad that in a world with billions of women, there you pretty much, once you've met one of them, you met them all. They'll sit here and lie and waste their, and I don't know why they're like that. Well, I do know, but it's like like I don't want them to be this way because I don't see who it's benefiting. But this is what they've chosen to do, and I can only make sure that I protect myself and am not involved with individuals of such a rancid variety. So oh, that the nature of the internet, give people a screen to hide behind and they'll show their worst selves. Oh, absolutely. But it's even worse when you consider that you're trying to actually discuss things and talk to people like with a little bit of, again, nuance and some semblance of trying to have a dialogue, and they act like, they don't care. So look, I hope you enjoyed the stream, Akatsuki Merchant. I know Zil was here earlier. I just wanted to talk about how when we do things, whether it's you ask out some woman, whether it's, applying for some job, writing a script, exercising, there is supposed to be some desirable result that you get from doing that stuff. And if you don't get it, then cut it out of your life. Like, if I knew today that no script I ever wrote again would actually be made into a video or whatever I'm trying to make it into, I would just stop writing altogether. But I haven't, because I like to hold out hope. I don't hold out hope for stupid stuff like that woman thing, but I hold out hope when there's something that I can, for the most part, do alone, because I know I'll eventually get to it. So thanks for watching and have a good rest of your Monday.